I cannot tell you what it means to see you all here. The broad reach my husband had. Proverbs 31 says, her husband was known at the city gates. And this church isn't a city, it's a big church, but this is a really big, small town. But Scott Bowles, where to start? Scott started with wheels. It was his first word, wheels. As a child, he got into tons of trouble for hand painting his cousin Greg's Hot Wheels different colors. And as a youth, he was obsessed with hot rods, classics, the paint, the wheels, the shape, and the flow of the fenders. And as an adult, he would design cars in his head. He painted beautiful flames, and he created rolling works of art. But mostly, he dreamed and pondered and created within his busy brain. I'm pretty sure that instead of REM sleep, he had RPM sleep. But cars were as much a part of his life as music. Scott had what I call music inside his body, and it had to come out in so many different ways. He could tap dance. He was an exquisite ballroom partner. I don't know if you know, but he competed. He was good. He could move like Michael Jackson, sing like Michael Bublé, Elvis, Don Henley, and Tom Jones, all while playing the drums and winking at the pretty girls in the audience. His body resonated with energy and sound and ideas. His brain was full of color and life and noise and chatter and a cadre of marching thoughts that kept him awake, bouncing from tunes to set lists to real estate deals, his kids, his grandkids, his dogs, and exactly the best way to drop a 2009 Suburban on a 3.5-inch with a double rubber rake and an extended stagger. Car stuff, y'all. His constantly firing brain kept him from falling into the drudgery of the 9-to-5, and his cockeyed optimism kept him from being on time or on budget. His mind full of ideas and thoughts helped him connect with people. He could always find common ground. He knew something about pretty much everything, and he always had a story to tell. He was easy to be with. The quintessential, easygoing, funny guy. He always had a quip, a joke, an easy way about him that allowed people to be the best versions of themselves. He often said he had ADD and OCD, so everything had to be perfect, but not for very long. He didn't finish everything he wanted to do with cars, with real estate, or with music. But he accomplished something that stronger men can only dream of. See, Scott walked the walk. He talked a good game about Christianity. He could recite scripture or argue Bible points till everybody was blue in the face. But more importantly, he was the person that God impressed upon him to be. He was kind, honest, faithful, and he was a guy that knew in his knower. He would always say, I know in my knower that Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life. He was generous to a fault, over-tipped, always gave people a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. Thank God, or we wouldn't be married to the end. He found joy in people and their stories, and he rooted for the underdog. He was and is a believer, who actually acted like someone who professes to follow Christ should act. Well, mostly. He was occasionally wishy-washy, scared of commitment, even to what to have for dinner. And he could even be downright lazy. I often wanted to pop his head like a pimple when he couldn't wrap that big old brain about where to put the dishes away or how long it took to get anywhere. Did you notice we started the service late? I always said he'd be late to his own funeral. But when he did finally arrive, he could make you forget in an instant with his smile and his positive energy and a beautifully told story of a wild adventure that kept him from the mundane tasks of daily life. Scott was a father, a pop, stepdad, bonus dad, a brother, a son, a mentor, a confidant, a realtor, a performer, a drummer, a singer, and a comedian, yet a deep thinker. He loved being a car guy, a house flipper, a doggy daddy, and the son of a living God. He was the greatest husband I could ever imagine. He knew everything about me and loved me anyway. But in the end, his body couldn't hold the spirit and soul that was on fire for God and his family. His body failed him repeatedly. From spending childhood asthma, made him spend his 5th birthday in a fog bubble room. He got his presents that way. He had cedar allergies that could take down a horse. He had genetic diabetes, kidney failure, couldn't feel a thing below his knees, and could still drum. He came this close to losing his eyesight. He finally became so broken that this world couldn't heal him. Now, granted, it was the sexiest hunk of man flesh I have ever seen. But it was just a temporary file cabinet for all his wild ideas. It was a network of muscles that allowed the music to come out. His body was a set of legs and a kind heart that helped him walk the walk of the road less traveled. His body is gone. It couldn't keep up. However, he lives. His life is now eternal. His place is set at a table before his enemies. Woohoo! His spirit and humor lives on in me, in our kids, and in this church. He left laughter in his wake and made the world a better place while you were with him. Sometimes the pain of losing him hits so sharply that I can't breathe. And if you're a fan of the movie The Greatest Showman, you'll know what I say when I say it was all an adventure that came with a breathtaking view. Scott had a life well lived. Thank you.